The previous video of viral corneal ulcers, we discussed about herpes simplex keratitis. In this video, we'll be talking about herpes zoster ophthalmicus. Herpes zoster ophthalmicus is actually a secondary attack of varicella zoster, which was actually latent in the Gasserian ganglion of the fifth cranial nerve, which is trigeminal nerve. So the virus has actually caused an infection. Then it had been latent in which ganglion? In Gasserian ganglion of the trigeminal nerve. This is an MCQ. Which ganglion? Gasserian ganglion. So herpes zoster ophthalmicus is actually a secondary attack of varicella zoster, which was latent in Gasserian ganglion of the fifth cranial nerve. Which part exactly? The ophthalmic division of trigeminal nerve. And this disease is mostly seen in elderly with low immunity. The clinical features include, so the frontal nerve is more frequently affected in herpes zoster ophthalmicus. MCQ again, which is the most commonly affected nerve in herpes zoster ophthalmicus, frontal nerve. And there will be ocular complications after this disease. Then this clinical features also say about Hutchinson's rule, which is nothing but there will be an ocular involvement if the side or tip of the nose has vesicles. That is, if the side or tip of the nose has any vesicles caused by the infection of herpes zoster, this virus, there will be also an ocular involvement. As you know, you might be knowing that the nasociliary nerve, it supplies the cutaneous part of the, it supplies the nose, it supplies the cutaneous part of the nose. So if there is involvement of the nose, or the tip of the nose, or the side of the nose, we know that the nasociliary nerve has its brand, which is long ciliary nerve. The long ciliary nerve affects it supplies the cornea. So it innervates the cornea. So if the nasociliary nerve, if it has come down through the nasociliary nerve, it means that it has also come through its branches, which is the long ciliary nerve. That's why there is an ocular involvement, mostly affecting the cornea. Then, so that is Hutchinson's rule. Then the lesions are limited to one side of the head. So the lesions are mostly, the cutaneous lesions, you can see it's mostly limited to one half of in this picture. The clinical phases. This disease has three clinical phases, which include acute phase lesions, chronic phase lesions, and relapsing phase lesions. The acute phase lesions are nothing but the lesions which last only for few weeks. Chronic phase lesions persist for years. Chronic, years often, yeah. And the relapsing phase lesions, they are actually the reappearance of either acute or chronic lesions after many years. So relapsing is nothing but reappearance of either acute or chronic lesions. First, we'll see about the acute phase lesions. Here, everything is not told in detail, as this is not very important. So acute phase lesions include general features, like the fever, malaise, all the general features, the patient will have it. Then the cutaneous lesions, every lesions which affect the skin. The ocular lesions are important in ophthalmology, so we'll be talking about the conjunctivitis. There will be conjunctivitis to the patient in acute phase lesions. There will be zoster keratitis. Then there is epithelial keratitis, nummular keratitis, juciform keratitis, and keratouveitis with endothelitis. So these all things are nothing but ocular lesions of acute phase lesions. So acute phase lesions doesn't only affect the eye, but it also has cutaneous involvement and other general features as well, general symptoms as well. Ocular lesions are very important in this aspect, and we'll be seeing the pictures of all these symptoms after a few slides. Then there is chronic phase lesions. So after acute phase lesions, some people might have these lesions for many years. So they are known as chronic phase lesions. In chronic phase lesions, you will have post-herpetic neuralgia, this neurological complications following herpetic infection. There could be lid lesions, conjunctival lesions, corneal lesions, scleritis, and uveitis. This is about chronic phase lesions. It can last for years. This is relapsing phase lesions. Like I told you earlier, relapsing phase lesions are nothing but reappearance of either acute or chronic lesions, which include nummular keratitis again, which have been told in the acute phase lesions, nummular keratitis. I'll be showing the picture in the next slide. Then there is episcleritis, scleritis, secondary glaucoma, mucus plaque keratitis. So these are actually the features of acute or chronic phase. It is actually the features of either acute or chronic phase lesions. They're actually reappearing in the patient after few years. And now here are some pictures from the A.K. Khurana book, and you can see here the first picture is nothing but punctate epithelial keratitis. So here is how you draw in your exam sheet. Well, this is actually how the eye looks like in person. So here we have told in acute phase lesions that there is epithelial keratitis. The epithelial keratitis can be punctate. So this is actually dot like. So punctate epithelial keratitis. This is dots you can see here. So this is nothing but epithelial keratitis, punctate epithelial keratitis. And next is microdendritic epithelial ulcer. So on the epithelium layer of the cornea, there will be microdendritic figures. You can see if it is zoomed. Here you can see the dendritic. It's not actually very big as in normal dendritic ulcers. These are very small, so it's known as microdendritic ulcer, and this is how you'll draw it. Next is nummular keratitis. So this is a new term for us in this video. So nummular keratitis is nothing but what you are seeing here. This is how you draw the exam, and this is how you see it in a person's eye. So this is nummular keratitis. These are all the features of acute phase lesions and or it could be relapsing phase lesions. And then there is deciform keratitis. Deciform means nothing but round. So there is round lesion here. So that is deciform keratitis. So these are the features of acute phase lesions, which can also be seen in relapsing phase lesions, as it is nothing but reappearance of the acute or chronic phase lesions. Next, we'll go into the treatment of herpes zoster ophthalmicus. So there are three things you have to remember here. First is a systemic therapy for herpes zoster infection. As you know, this is not a disease which affects only the eye. It also affects the whole body in a whole. As the whole body. You know, the viral infections. Then there is local therapy. Local therapy aims at cutaneous lesions and ocular lesions. You know, the skin is very affected in herpes zoster infections, and also the eye. Then there is surgery, surgical management. So first we'll see the systemic therapy and how it works. Systemic therapy includes oral antiviral drugs, analgesics, and systemic steroids. Oral antiviral drugs. So against the virus, we are taking the drugs. We are taking it orally. So this drugs, the oral antiviral drugs, it has to be started immediately after the onset of rash. So this disease, this infection is characterized by the presence of rashes. So soon after a rash appears and it is diagnosed that it is a HZO, you have to start the treatment with oral antiviral drugs, which is nothing but acyclovir. We have to take it 800 milligram 5 times a day for 10 days. Then there is analgesics. Analgesics are nothing but drugs used for stopping the pain you might get during the infection. So analgesics are nothing but painkillers. So what are the analgesics you use here is the combination of mefenamic acid and paracetamol. There are other drugs also which can be used instead of paracetamol, but here since paracetamol is the most common drug that you might have heard of, I've mentioned it here. So mefenamic acid and paracetamol combination for severe pain caused by the virus. Then there is systemic steroids. They prevent the chances of post-herpetic neuralgia. So I told you earlier there can be complications caused because of this viral infection. The oral antiviral drugs actually stops the infection alone. It does not prevent the post-herpetic neuralgia. It only stops the infection that you already have. It will not stop the complication from happening. So for that we have to take another drug. For the complication like post-herpetic neuralgia, which is a very common complication in HZO, you have to take the systemic steroids itself. So systemic steroids used in HZO is actually for post-herpetic neuralgia. What it does is it inhibits the chance of any neurological complications, and this has to be given in high doses to prevent the neuralgia. This systemic steroid has to be given in high doses, but you also have to think that in elderly people we cannot give high doses, so there has to be alternatives. Then the next is local therapy. Local therapy, you know, it affects the skin and eye also. So for skin lesions, we have to use antibiotic, corticosteroid, skin ointment, and for ocular lesions, for the diseases of the eye, keratitis, iridocyclitis, and scleritis, we have to use topical steroid eye drops 4 times a day. So ocular lesions, first is keratitis, iridocyclitis, and scleritis. So here we can use topical steroid eye drops 4 times a day. Then we have to use cycloplegic drugs like atropine. For this iridocyclitis, we have to use cycloplegic drugs like atropine eye ointment once a day. And then there is topical acyclovir, 3% eye ointment. You might have heard about this drug everywhere in the in the viral corneal ulcer classes. So acyclovir 3% eye ointment has to be instilled 5 times a day for 2 weeks. For these complaints, we have to use all these drugs. And for epithelial defects, so this is all about this is all about the infections or the involvement of other layers of the cornea. So what about epithelial defects? In epithelial defects, you know, you cannot use steroids. Steroids are contraindicated in epithelial defects. So for epithelium, which is the first most layer of cornea, for epithelial defects, you have to use lubricating artificial tear drops and bandage soft contact lens. You have to remember the word bandage soft contact lens, as it is very important in ophthalmology. So next is about the surgical management. So for neuroparalytic corneal ulcer caused by herpes zoster. So sometimes, you know, there is neuroparalytic corneal ulcer also caused by this HZ. So what do we do? There is options like lateral tarsorrhaphy, amniotic membrane transplantation, keratoplasty is recommended for high-risk patients. So these are the 3 things you have to remember for neuroparalytic corneal ulcers: lateral tarsorrhaphy, amniotic membrane transplantation, keratoplasty for high-risk patients. We're not getting into the details of these 3 as they are actually concerned with postgraduate ophthalmology. For UG students, the names are enough. So thank you for watching Medical ABC. Do like, share, and subscribe for more.